Premier League first, and Aston Villa are looking at cashing in on Martinez, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that happening, and perhaps also Leon Bailey.
Yeah, we said it a couple of weeks ago, don't we? Villa, PSR, looking to balance the books. And all of a sudden, Emi Martinez is crying at Aston Villa. Not because he's shit compared to Alisson, but I think as a lot of people suspect, he will be sacrificed, be it Atletico have been linked, but Saudi does seem the most likely destination. We said how they wanted a keeper. Also the same for Leon Bailey and getting a huge wage influx there. Linked with Juan Garcia, that keeper at Espanyol, who was linked with Arsenal as his replacement. But I think a lot of people are expecting Bailey and Emi Martinez to depart Villa this summer.
Now, Arsenal news that is making me slightly nauseous. I have a real feeling that Yakarez could be an absolute beast for Liverpool. I genuinely do. And we already know that they've got a fellow we were chasing last season. Our pal Medinant's pretty much done. Zubimendi's almost over the line as a deal. But it looks like they're aiming their sights at Yakarez as well. I don't like that. That does not sound good to me, that they could have someone like Yakarez and Zubimendi added to the ranks. And it looks like they're going to back Arteta at least once more.
They're all in on this. Make no mistake. There's no rationale of like, hold on, this guy keeps finishing second and we're going backwards and we've given him like 800 million quid over the years he's here. They are all in with Arteta. Josh Kroenke saying, like, big summer, we're expecting it, we're behind him, we're going to do things. Arteta even saying it, isn't he, that it is going to be a big summer. We know what we want. We're going to get it done. This chief exec's come in, whose record is patchy, but they're heralding him as the new messiah. And if he gets Gyökeres, Zubimendi and a winger, he probably will be heralded that way as well, won't they? But they talk nonsense. However, I do suspect Arsenal are going to spend again big this summer.
People need to get their heads around that, because with all the sneering at Arteta, it doesn't seem to matter what anyone else thinks at the club. He is liked and the owners seem to be very interested in backing him. So get yourself used to the fact that they're going to strengthen. Some free transfers knocking about now. Doucouré, Harry Wilson. Talk to us about these deals.
Did we say 2 weeks ago Doucouré is wanted by the Saudis, and all of a sudden the Everton wages are not going to cut it? And what's happened? He does the crying video. He says it's been a pleasure. He confirms today, I'm leaving on a free, so he is going to depart. And then Harry Wilson, we mentioned him, that he's been triggered that, or the club, sorry, Fulham have triggered that renewal. But Harry Wilson's told Fulham he doesn't want it. Harry Wilson isn't in Marco Silva's team most of this season, so he's also looking to move on. So there'd even been talk of, would they cancel that final year or would they take a small fee for him? But you are getting a lot of players now leaving on frees, aren't you? And a lot of these are coming up. So add Doucouré, possibly add Harry Wilson to the mix, and they'll just keep coming.
Other clubs who are chasing those Champions League places, Villa, Newcastle, also seem to have a fondness for Jonathan David, who we were linked with 11 moons ago. Napoli are also interested in this player. Who do you see coming out the winner in that particular race?
If it comes down to wages and Newcastle and Villa are in the Champions League, you'd think, you never know, but that would get done. And it's hard at any of those clubs, because if you go into Newcastle, you're probably going to be Isak's backup. If you go into Napoli, you're going to be Lukaku's backup, aren't you? Maybe Villa, there's question marks around Ollie Watkins, but Jonathan David on a free is good business for a lot of clubs, isn't he, really? So he will go to a Champions League club. He will have his pick. I do think it will be the Premier League, though.
We've got a Brighton story, and then we're going to go to the two Manchester clubs to finish up the Premier League. So I'm just going to let you take those whatever way you want to, in as much detail as you want to, starting with Brighton.
Yeah, people might not remember the name Costa Lewis, but destroyed Scotland, didn't he? The young 17-year-old Greek international. And where do 17-year-old young Greek strikers end up? At Brighton, because Brighton buy those types of players, don't they? So a deal involving 30 million and Seema going the other way. And people forget, Brighton stockpile these young attackers, don't they? Like the way they bought Gruder, Minter, and a few others and let others go on loan. Don't forget. Do you remember right at the start of the summer, Trev, a name we'd forgot? Stefanos Zimas. Do you remember that? When we were trying to get him as well and Brighton got him. So there's potential for 2 Greek attackers to be coming into Brighton. But it's just what Brighton do, isn't it? They always have about 8 or 9 attackers. Some just end up on loan, some end up developed, some then get sold. It's just the Brighton model.
Yeah, and look at some of those guys last night. I mean, they've got so many good young players. They do it so well. It's only when you actually see them play, or when the Reds are playing against them in particular, you get to watch them really closely. They just have this down. It's such a well-run club, and we finished, like I said, with the Manchester clubs. A bit's going on with both. United seem to be the more likely to do business at the moment, with one deal almost done.
Yeah, Matthias Cunha, it's been brewing for a while. It's all just about how the release clause is going to be paid, whether it's installments, whether United have actually got the money after Wednesday night is probably a question. So we won't have long to wait to find that out. But also, as various press outlets have reported it, United execs have held talks with another one we mentioned, Liam Delap. So he's got that option there at the same time. United are trying to get strikers, plural, through the door. And I mean, City is a bit of a madness as well. De Bruyne, remember after the FA Cup final, all the City fans were sulking. He was in a great mood. He was smiling and cheering. And then he gives an interview afterwards to say, yeah, we want to stay in the Northwest. My family's all settled here. So again, a quite clear, come and get me Liverpool. So that story will rumble on until he gets somewhere. And City, the funniest one was the Vert stuff. Do you remember City pulled out the Verts race in a kind of like, we never wanted him anyway. It wasn't really serious. The money's ridiculous. Like a club said, oh, no one should be paying a package of 300 million. This from a club that paid 100 million quid for Jack Grealish. This from a club that paid a similar package to Gvardiol and Red Bull. Like, come on, lads. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's at least try and make it look genuine. But Gibbs White, as we said, Wharton, like us, Reinders as well. There's going to be a lot happening in Manchester this summer.
It sounds like it. It sounds like it'll be interesting to watch. Hopefully, neither of them will be particularly successful in their recruitment. And there is a name that's just gotten thrown into the chat, and I noticed it was in the headline for the show, which isn't always myself or yourself. It's just whatever story was or information was sent. Is there anything about Cesco? Let's just talk about that just before we move into Europe-wide stuff.
He's been watched many a times. I think people know that. He is liked. I know a lot of people know that as well. However, he isn't the first choice. He's certainly not my first choice. And the big problem is, I think we said it before with Cesco. Maybe we've just got Nunez PTSD, because a big, tall, rangy striker who's raw, quick, just makes you nervous, but very unpolished, doesn't it? And I think we're all just thinking like, come on, we're champions. Should we be going for another project forward, especially when we're moving for the likes of, or try for the likes of Alvarez, trying for the likes of Wirtz? Cesco's just so many steps below that. It doesn't make him a bad player, but it's going to be underwhelming if he's the project forward, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's fair. And again, people have different opinions and maybe they've seen more of him, and that's all fair enough too.